Hello, everyone, and welcome to yet another episode of Just Love Inspires TV. I am so glad you're here. My name is Jessica. We have an incredible guest today. But before we get started, I would so appreciate it if this video and this interview resonates with you in any way. If you would like it, share it with someone that you think might need a little bit of inspiration, and also drop your thoughts or questions in the comments. We really appreciate your support. So without further ado, I'm very excited to introduce my guest today. This is Dory Gonzalez. She is a Latina wellness coach who naturally reversed her PCOS, Polycystic Ovary Syndrome, and now helps other women do the same. Through mindset coaching, nutrition tips, the hormone-friendly habits, she empowers women to take back control of their health without overwhelm. And she's passionate about showing others that healing is possible with the right support and strategy. Dory has launched her PCOS online coaching program, which is available for one-on-one coaching for women with PCOS now. And we'll dig into a little bit more about Dory's program and how it can help you throughout this conversation. But in the meantime, Dory, we're so thankful to have you on the show. So very welcome. Yay, round of applause. And yeah, we're just going to get into this conversation because I feel like you and I were talking offline just about how challenging and difficult it is for women to navigate this particular issue. And I personally have struggled with something that I was never actually diagnosed with it. But it seems like when I was younger, I may have had some of these symptoms. And I know people who have struggled immensely having multiple procedures, surgeries, like really just gone through the ringer, had issues with infertility. Like, this is no small issue. So can we just start off with defining what PCOS is for people who maybe haven't heard of it before, or perhaps maybe they might be struggling with it, but they don't realize it. And I just want to make a quick disclaimer that we're not here to diagnose anyone, but we just want to talk about what these symptoms look like, how it affects your life, and then what are the solutions and things that can be done to support you in getting free from this disorder. So can you just talk a little bit about what it is and how it might show up in someone's life?
Definitely. So thank you, Jessica, first of all, for having me
You're so welcome.
And yes, PCOS, Polycystic Ovary Syndrome, is something that lacks information, lacks support. And I'm very, very excited to be here and talk a little bit more about it, my journey. And so we'll get to what it is first.
Yes.
And so Polycystic Ovary Syndrome is basically a hormone imbalance. And as of now, you can find it in 1 in 10 women. So it's very, very common these days, which is a little crazy, right?
Yeah.
And some of the symptoms include irregular or missed periods. You can find body hair, facial hair, which is, very not common within women, right?
Yeah.
Acne, bloating, very similar things to that. And it starts in the reproduction years. So that's something very important to note. And one of the biggest issues is insulin resistance. So this is where the body struggles to process sugar. And that's where you have issues with your hormones. And this is super important because there are doctors out there who prescribe birth control for it, right?
Yeah.
What birth control is going to do, it is going to address it, but it's not going to address the root cause of it. So that's super important for us to understand and take note of.
So it's like taking a cold medicine, but it's not helping your body heal and recover from the cold. You're just taking something that helps with the symptom management, essentially.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. And while there is no cure for it, there is a way to manage your symptoms, and there is a way to reverse your symptoms even. So living proof of that.
Yes, you are. And we're going to talk about your personal journey as well, because this isn't something abstract where you just kind of decided, okay, now I want to focus on this and coach people on this. This comes from a very personal journey of yours. And so I want to talk a little bit about that. I mean, can you walk us through how your personal journey with PCOS has been, and um, how did you even begin to figure out, like, okay, I have it, now I need to deal with it? So what did that journey look like?
Definitely. So I was diagnosed officially by my OBGYN in 2023, but I was having symptoms way before that. And way before that, I mean, as in maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago.
Hmm.
And I didn't realize that something was medically wrong with me. I had accepted it because previous doctors before had told me, Dory, you're fine, you're healthy. There's nothing wrong with you. All I can give you is birth control if you want your period to come back, because that was my biggest symptom is I would have very, very irregular periods.
Hmm.
So
And
one,
can I ask you a follow-up question on that? I'm just curious because you mentioned earlier that this issue starts to show up during puberty, essentially. Did you happen to notice anything for you during puberty that now looking back, you thought, yeah, that was kind of the beginning signs that I had this issue or would have this issue eventually?
yes, and it was my missed periods. That has been an issue for me since since I was
Since the
growing up.
very first time, yeah.
Time and
Yeah.
and by the period issues I mean very, very irregular. So there was one year where I actually only got my period twice. So I only got it for 2 months, and the rest of the year, and I was not pregnant, I was not sexually active. So
Right.
I knew at that point that there was something wrong with me, but since my doctor had claimed, nothing's wrong with you, all I can give you is birth control because you seem great, you seem fine, you're healthy. In the back of my head, I knew something was wrong with me,
Yeah.
and but I didn't know. I mean, my doctor at that time, we couldn't figure it out.
And
So
it, and that's an interesting point because you're seeing your doctor. Now, was this a general practitioner or was this like a GYN
it was a
doctor?
general practitioner.
Okay.
Yes.
So was it a male doctor?
It was a male
Okay.
doctor. Yeah.
So yeah, and not
Yeah,
to bash
thank
on
you.
our male doctors. We love our male doctors out there, but this is something that you hear about with a lot of struggles that are uniquely female with male physicians, is that sometimes they just look at you. I mean, you're a beautiful girl, you're vivacious, you were young, and he's probably looking at you like, hey, you're fine. Like, there's nothing wrong with you. So, I'm just curious, like, did he run any tests or anything specific to make that assessment? Or was it just based on, let's just talk about it and then I'll tell you whether or not I think you have a problem?
Yeah. So that's where the issue is. Back then, he did not take a blood test.
Okay.
So he basically just did a physical for me. I think they did an ultrasound or something like that just to make sure
Okay.
like I wasn't pregnant or anything, and then took all those notes, and that's where the conclusion came based out of is I can put you on birth control, nothing's wrong with you.
Hmm.
And fast forward to 2023, 2 years ago, I was given a blood test. I took a blood test, and based on what I told my OBGYN, I said, hey, here are my symptoms. I haven't had a period and I'm bloated. It's hard for me to lose weight, even though I'm strength training, but my eating could be a little better, but I'm strength training.
Yeah.
And she
And
said,
still young, still have a like what you would assume would be a normal metabolism. Because how old are you, or how old were you in 2023?
yep, so I'm 30 now. So
Yeah.
I was 28. Yeah.
Yeah, so
So,
there'd be you're still thinking, okay, I'm not quite 30 yet. My metabolism should still be functioning well.
right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that blood test confirmed that I had PCOS. And that's when I did some more research on it, because when I was diagnosed and my doctor told me my OBGYN said, okay, you officially have PCOS. I said, what is that? I never heard of it, never came across anyone who had it, at least that I knew or had mentioned it to me.
Yeah.
So I took control. I researched. I watched TikToks of other women telling their story,
Yeah.
and it resonated with me. I said, "Wow, like this is an issue. This
Yeah.
is there are so many other women going through this." And
Did
my
that just like open up a whole, I mean, was that just like an eyes wide open moment where you just like, wow, not like, because I would imagine like suffering or struggling with this issue over the years and never getting
never knowing.
close to being diagnosed, right? Never knowing, never having the insight into it because the testing wasn't done. Then you get this diagnosis because the blood test was done. And by the way, what is the name of the blood test that they did? Do you remember what the name was?
I
Um,
I I think it was just a general blood test, but they linked the like whatever the PCOS symptoms are, whatever it should be taken for PCOS
okay.
into.
So if
That's
people, just as a sidebar, and we'll get back to what I was just saying, but I would say that if people think that they might have this, if a woman thinks she might have this issue, then she should just request, hey, can I get a blood test for
PCOS.
PCOS? Yeah, and
Yeah.
that should do it. But
Yes.
back to your kind of discovery process and all of this, was when you started watching the TikToks where you're like, oh my gosh, like this is like a real thing and people are suffering and struggling with it.
Yes, yep, that's exactly how I thought. And I was lucky enough to have my OBGYN who, took the blood test, took the time and explained to me what PCOS was. And I was lucky enough to have her tell me, I want you to start with intermittent fasting. And
Okay.
her telling me that and not making me or not recommending, you need to take this pill, you need to take this,
Yeah.
that really stood out to me about her. And I feel very lucky to have had her as an
Mhm.
OBGYN. And so I did that. I started intermittent fasting and I also limited my processed foods, started cutting away sugar, anything basically that was in a package or in a box, I got rid of.
Yeah. Good for
And
you. Yeah.
yeah,
And tell us a little bit about that. Like, how difficult was that? I mean, because the intermittent fasting, if anyone's not aware of what that is, it just means that you stop eating at a certain time and you have a period of recovery where you allow your body to have time without digesting food
yeah,
to be able to have cell renewal, regeneration, all of your organs and systems reset. Typically, it happens at night when we sleep, but for those of us who might try to have a little snack before bed, um, that would prevent the time that your body's not digesting food while you're sleeping. So it's usually, and it can be during the day too. It doesn't have to be at night, right?
right.
um so there's different windows that people can choose, right? You can have like 12, 16, 20 hour windows where you're not eating depending on so I just wanted to explain that to people what intermittent fasting was. So you got introduced to that and started incorporating it, and then you said another key thing, which is that you got rid of all of the processed food, canned, boxed, whatever food,
Package, anything.
packaged in any way. So what was that like? And was that like overwhelming at first? Were you like, did you have like a sense of like, oh, I'm doing this, like I'm totally determined, I'll do whatever I can to get healthy? Or were you kind of like, oh, I need to take this in for a moment, because if I'm really going to go down this road, like this is going to require some discipline and commitment?
Yes. So it's both.
Yeah.
So once I was officially diagnosed, I actually took a week to let out my emotions. I cried. I was sat in my little corner. I prayed. I journaled. I let my emotions kind of take over and just process, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was a full week where I'm telling you, I actually even like skipped out of work. I took a second because
Yeah.
and the reason it was very difficult for me is because PCOS does cause fertility issues. So I have not decided if I want children. And I knew that with this diagnosis, it was going to be very, very difficult for me to conceive children if I decided
Mm.
to go. So,
Can we drill down on that for just a second?
yeah.
um I think that that's probably one of the most difficult aspects of learning, that you have this issue. Um, because, and I only say that because I know of other women who have struggled, um, and they did have, actually, one of my girlfriends, longtime girlfriends, she just got pregnant after 10 years because she was able to get her body healthy enough to be able to conceive. And she's had PCOS for a long time. But I'm just imagining most women aren't aware that they probably have this issue. And then once they get the diagnosis, that fertility piece, whether they've decided, like yourself, to have children or not, that's got to hit home. Like
Mhm.
that's no small thing, because once you find that out, you're kind of like, okay, well, then what does that look like?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That was very difficult for me to
Yeah.
accept, especially being undecided. So
Hmm.
like I said, I took the week to process everything, and after that week, I came back to myself and I said, okay, well, I can either do something about this, or I can let it sit with me and I can accept it and I can just move on.
Yeah.
And that's where I made the decision. I said, you know what? I'm gonna try and do something about it.
Yeah. Okay. So you got your diagnosis, you got your doctor gave you a couple suggestions, right? And then you started obviously doing your own research, and that's how you ended up developing your program, I'm imagining. But before like all of that, you took time to just kind of mourn in a way, I guess, the diagnosis and let your emotions surrounding it just flow out. And like you said, even about the fertility piece, like not knowing what that would look like and just kind of letting your heart and your mind feel the feels
Yes,
and
exactly.
spend time with God and journal and do all the things. And just I just have to commend you, by the way, for doing that, because I think that as women, we feel, especially in the society we live in now and the culture we live in now, that we just have to be boss lady strong all the time. And it's like almost like in a masculine, hyper masculine way that's super unhealthy, but that's a different topic. But like the fact that you allowed yourself to just let all of those feelings out, I just want to commend you for that, because I'm probably guessing that you wouldn't have been able to take on the mantle and the journey that you've taken on without just processing that. So I just want to say to you how amazing that is that you did that. And I think it's such a great model for other people if
Thank
they end up realizing that this is what they've been struggling with. And I just want to speak to anyone who might be listening too. Follow what Dory did. Let your emotions out, let yourself feel and all of that, because I just think it's so healthy. So I just want to commend you for that.
Thank you. Yeah, and going back to that, I think that women need to understand that it's okay. It's okay to not be
Yes.
strong. It's okay to take a second. It's okay to cry.
Yeah.
Uh, you don't need to be strong 100% of the time.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah. Indeed. So, okay, so you take the week off, you feel the feels, and you're like, okay, so what was your next kind of point of view? I mean, were you just like, okay, this is a mountain that I'm going to climb? And how did you approach that?
Yeah. So with the intermittent fasting, I kept in contact with my OBGYN. Like I said, she was great. And she said, reach out to me for anything. So I kept in contact with her and she let me know, we need to stay away from sugar. We need to stay as much as you can. And so the other piece to this is I had to eat a lot healthier. So I
So
had to
no
learn.
like runs to Taco Bell, like
No,
10
right.
o'clock at night.
No more.
That used to be my weak spot. I'm like, I'm so hungry. I'm just going to go get a burrito
Yeah.
supreme or whatever. Yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
And I actually didn't know how to cook. So this, let me
A
tell you,
woman after my own heart.
being a Latina and not knowing how to cook is a disgrace. I had to learn because I wasn't about to go out and buy food, even though, I could, I guess, but it was going to save me a lot of money if I learned how to cook very basic things at home. So I invested in an air fryer, which
There you go.
I learned was a pretty easy route to take,
Yes, a lot can
Good
be
start.
accomplished with an air fryer, so I've been told.
Yeah, and use all the resources that we have these days. TikTok is very convenient. It's such a good resource. You wouldn't think,
For like
but
recipes and stuff.
for recipes, yep.
Yep.
So I literally, not kidding, I would search how to make high protein meals in an air fryer. Bam, I had a 30-minute meal done.
Yeah.
And I incorporated that and I started meal prepping little by little. And then once I learned how to master my lunches, I started looking up dinner ideas.
Okay.
And since I was intermittent fasting, those were my windows. So I was doing the 16 and 8. So I would only eat within an 8-hour window. So I would skip breakfast and I would only eat lunch and dinner every day.
Okay.
So that's where that tied in.
Yep.
And 2 months into my intermittent fasting, I actually got my period back. And so it had been 8 months without a period. And
Oh my
naturally,
gosh.
just woke up one day and it came back. And I said,
You're
oh
like,
my,
Aunt Flo is back in town.
yeah. And the crazy part is, so I kept going. I kept doing my intermittent fasting. I kept eating better. I kept learning. I kept researching. The next month, it came back again. And then the next month, it came back again. And I remember I took a step back and I was like, wow, this, all it took was me to eat
Ugh,
better foods
yeah.
and take some time to myself. And then ever since then, since last year, I've had my period consistently every single month, has never skipped a month.
That is just so amazing. And I'm just thinking about the fact that, like, your body, and we don't realize this, and it could be for any issue that we're encountering, is like we deal with so much inflammation
Mhm.
from our environment, the
Oh,
food we eat, like even products we use, things like that. Um, just the toxicity generally of like our food sources and like all those kind of things. And just the fact that you did the intermittent fasting, which gave your body the downtime to recover,
yes.
do all the system recovery that we talked about, cellular recovery with the intermittent fasting, and you gave your body nutrition that it desperate, like you mentioned, high protein, for example, probably needed more protein. Just those changes, your body was like, huh, I can relax now and operate the way that I'm supposed to, you know?
And
And
I'll also add that it wasn't easy. I didn't mention this before, but I have not had always the best relationship with food in the way that I loved fast food.
mm-hmm,
I loved burgers. I loved my burritos. I
mm-hmm,
loved tacos.
mm-hmm.
And I had to sacrifice that. And it was not easy.
Yeah,
But what kept me going was, what's my why? Why do I want this?
yeah.
Why do I want to get better?
So good.
And I didn't want something to hold me back, something little as food. And I was willing to make that sacrifice.
That is so amazing what you just said there. Because don't you think as women that food is like our go-to, and I don't know if that's like how we're socialized or if it's just because it's easy access and it's not, we don't think it's impactful as like drinking or other
Yep.
bad, vices. But food addiction is like a real thing. I've
Mhm.
struggled with it, which I don't really talk about very much on my platforms, but I have struggled with it. And I think when we have a real need for comfort or our hormones are just messed up, our
Mhm.
body starts to crave stuff that isn't the healthiest for us. And also, like, if you're dealing with a medical issue and I would imagine, I mean, you can speak into this, whether this was true for you or not, but was there ever like a depression element or like a feeling of you just felt like maybe detached somehow from what you knew your body should be doing versus what it was doing, and dealing with that for years on end? Because I'm wondering if that drove anything about the way you were eating or engaging with food.
Mhm. It, I can tell you that yes, that definitely played a part. And I noticed that when I would feel down, it's like something triggered in my head when I would feel sad or upset. And it triggered something in my brain where I'm like, I need to eat something.
Yeah,
I
because
need
you get a dopamine hit. That's what it
Yep.
is. You feel sad, you need the dopamine hit, the food does it for you.
And my weakness is chocolate. So I was always going for that ice cream bar, that chocolate ice cream bar, that, oh my gosh, anything chocolate.
Yeah, yeah, I can understand that. Yeah,
Man, that would help. Like, I mean, at that time, I thought,
sure. It's
uh,
self-soothing.
yes.
Mm-hmm. It's
And
it's pacifier. Food is a pacifier for adults.
and it's crazy because you don't think about that. You
Yeah.
think about, I want to get this in my body. It looks good. It sounds good. I
Mm-hmm.
love it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get this in there. I'm going to eat it and I'm going to feel better.
Mm-hmm.
And what I didn't realize is the impact it was making on my body. It was clearing my mind. It was helping my mind. I was feeling better in my head, but my body wasn't.
Yeah. And that's an important, distinction to make. And so, talking more about this relationship with food, because I'm sure there'll be people that are listening and watching that are thinking, yeah, hello, that's me. I deal with that. I mean, because most women do, whether they're thin or heavy set or whatever. What do you think? You mentioned just briefly a moment ago that you felt like it was a small thing to give up considering where you wanted to be with your health. But how did you come to that conclusion? And honestly, how did you, I just want to say like the courage or the discipline to just be like, you know what, I'm not choosing that for myself anymore. I'm choosing this instead. So can you walk us through like some of that mindset and how that shifted and how you were able to get to those wins for yourself?
Yeah, I think that the first step was me just realizing, I'm going into detail when I would journal, is what do I want? What is my end goal? What is going to help me? And like I mentioned, I haven't decided if I want children. So I said, okay, well, I can either accept this and basically decide not to have children and
Let it
just
decide for you.
let it decide for me.
Yeah.
Or like my OBGYN suggested, she said with proper diet and exercise, you can overcome this, or you can help manage your symptoms. And since I knew there was hope, since I knew even if it was a little bit, I said there's a possibility. There's a
Yeah.
possibility I can help myself. And that was what was in the back of my mind the entire time. I said there is a possibility I can do this. And like I mentioned, I was watching a lot of TikToks of other women who either have it or overcame their symptoms. And I said, well, if other women can do it, I can too. You know?
Yes, yes. And that's the positive side of social media. I mean, we're all aware that there's some, you can go down the death scroll rabbit hole, but for on the positive side of it, it is so empowering to just witness other people's challenges and struggles and feel A, that you're not alone, and then B, like you were seeing, it sounded like some people that weren't just adopting victimhood months, like, oh, like I can't do anything about this. Like there were women out there who are actually saying, no, you can overcome this. And
Yes.
I just can't imagine how inspiring that would feel, because it would be very empowering to see that it was possible to change your lifestyle and to beat it.
Yeah. And it was very hard, especially the food aspect.
Yeah.
And what I did was, and something I hear a lot is it's all about balance. And so that's something I also incorporate into my coaching, is it's all about balance.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want women to think that when I started, I went like 100%, where I was like no sugar, no nothing. Like I still treated myself because that's important too. It's
Yeah.
you have to like you have to treat yourself. You're working so hard and your body still wants to know like, hey, like I love you, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
what I did was once a month during my journey, when at the beginning, once a month, I would treat myself to a cheat meal. So I would go to like my favorite restaurant, or I would go to my favorite fast food place, and that would help me. That would help me. I
Mm-hmm.
would look forward to that actually every month. That's
Yeah.
something it keeps you excited. You're like,
Yeah.
oh,
Keeps you energized and focused. Yeah. Because there's a
so
reward coming. Yeah.
there's a reward coming.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
So it's little
Were
by
you
little.
were you
Mhm.
surprised at all about the wherewithal or discipline that you were actually able to employ in setting these boundaries for yourself with food and just your lifestyle approach?
It was very surprising to me. And I think that that's where we need to help women with, is the discipline can be there. It can be there with guidance. It can be there through your friends, through the people you surround yourself with. And that's something else that played a huge part, is I had the support. I had a support system. Even though people didn't know I was diagnosed with PCOS, I had friends who, when I said, I'm not going out today, I'm not going to dinner, and the reason I would say no is because I didn't want to indulge in food that was going to hurt me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And my friends were very supportive. They said, you know what, Dory, like, it's okay, next time. And I would link up my cheat meals with those dinner dates.
I love that. Yes, yeah.
So,
Because there is a social component to food that a lot of people don't talk about, which is that it's like everyone else is eating that, having the birthday cake, or everyone else is having the homemade meal that's homemade, but maybe it's not that healthy. And feeling that social pressure, or just wanting to be in the moment and connect with people through a celebration or whatever it is. So how did you, because I feel like, oh, and I'll just add a little tidbit. years ago, and barely anyone knows this about me, but when I first got into the professional skincare dermatology world, that was my first profession, was skin and makeup. Um, I worked for a wellness company that had an aesthetics component. So I was running that operation. But in order to work for that company, you had to get cross-trained in their nutrition counseling and fitness and all the stuff, that all the programs they offered. So I would end up doing on occasion some nutrition counseling for people. And the number one thing that I would hear from people was, oh, well, it was my grandson's birthday, or, oh, well, it was my, auntie's wedding, or it was, there was always like an event or some type of celebration or something. And it was really heavy on this social component that people just like didn't want to say no to certain things. And I think in certain cultures too, I know in Asian cultures as well, that's kind of, it's impolite to reject. Someone says, oh, do you want to have this meal? I mean, no, I'm actually on a special program. Like, that's kind of hard to like convey sometimes. And people put pressure on you. Oh, come on, you can just have one bite, that kind of stuff. So not to like go down too far on this kind of this branch of the conversation, but I feel like because we are talking about our relationship with food as women, I mean, can you talk about that social component and how you kind of overcame that? Because I would imagine your commitment had to be stronger. Your commitment to your healing had to be stronger than any social pressure or social desire to be social with food, I guess.
Right. And I think this all comes down to how bad do you want it? That was what was in the back of my head, is how bad do I want this? How bad do I want to get better?
Yeah.
And I had to sacrifice. I had to say no. And if people didn't accept it, then that sucks. But
you're like, okay,
yeah, it's fine. And I will tell you that I did lose some friends along my journey. I did. And
isn't that crazy? Just over like food and not going out all the time.
Yep. I mean, but look at where it got me, look at me now.
Yeah.
So I think that some people can take that to heart, and that's okay. But I think that at the end of the day, you should just think about what's your why, where you want to go, what's your end goal, So if it means having to lose people, if it means having to change your relationship with people, with food, with your surroundings, with your environment, do what you need to do to get there.
That's amazing advice. Yeah. And what would you say are some of the biggest misconceptions about PCOS, just as a syndrome, that you wish more women understood?
Yeah, there's a few. So the first one is, I think that they think they have to be on so many supplements. There are all these recommended supplements specifically for women with PCOS that they recommend you take. And I'll start out by saying, always talk to your doctor first, take their advice, of course. My strategy was I wanted to go as natural as possible, because the less I put in my body, I realized was better for my body. And especially the food part. And when it came to supplements, I realized I wasn't even taking the daily supplements that are recommended for everyone. I was not even taking that before my journey even started. So I just started incorporating the supplements that everyone should already take.
Like what? Like multivitamins and fish oils and things like that?
Fish oils, vitamin D, a probiotic, and magnesium. Those were the 5.
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
And I never took those, never. And so I started incorporating the basics into my journey. And I actually still take all of those today, which if you're not taking those are very basic.
Yes. Get started on that ASAP, you guys, if you're not on that train yet.
Yep. And that's all I took. All I took was for those basic supplements. And that's a misconception that I think that a lot of women don't realize, is you don't have to take all the fancy pills. You can just start with the basics if you need to.
So it's not like this huge thing where you're like, okay, I have to change my food. I can't eat this. Now I've got to order like 10 different supplements, and what are those, and what are, So yeah, I would imagine that just hearing just basic stuff, starting with the basics, it sounded like what you did. You just got back to basics with nutrition and health, and then that kind of took you to it started you on a trajectory to where you were learning more and able to employ more strategies and things as time went on. So are there any other misconceptions that you think that are out there that women are struggling with or not aware of?
Yes. And another one is you can't lose weight. So you can with a hormone-friendly approach. And I actually lost over 25 pounds throughout my journey. So that's proof already.
Yes, yes, yeah,
It is possible. It
yes.
is possible. And if if you're saying, I'm doing everything right, I'm not losing weight, there's something. It's either has to do with the training or it has to do with the nutrition. They have to balance each other out.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something you have to look into. And with the training, it's either implementing more reps, implementing a higher weight, progressive overload too will help. And with the nutrition, it's cutting out as much sugar as you can. That's a very important part. So it is
And
possible. Wait.
yes, absolutely. And can you just give us an example then, kind of on that note, like what a workout looks like for you, and then like what a day-to-day meal plan looks like for you, so people get
Yeah.
a clearer picture of what this could actually look like.
Yes. So for women with PCOS, it's recommended to strength train at least 3 times a week, which is something I did. And this can also lead into another misconception where doctors say you can't do any high intensity training, but I have a love for boxing. So
Okay.
I didn't want to give that up. I said,
Yeah.
I'm giving this up.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I kept it. I did it once a week on Saturday mornings. And this also tied into my mental aspect because it kind of boxing helps get out your anger. I don't know if you've ever done a box.
Yes, absolutely. It's a release of tension as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
So not only was I getting a great workout, not only was I burning all these calories, I was also letting out all my frustrations on
Mm-hmm.
PCOS, letting
Mm-hmm.
out all my anger, everything that was going through my head, all the negativity, I would let it out on the bag.
Yeah,
So
that's amazing.
high intensity training is okay.
Yes. Yeah.
For
Why
them.
why are they telling women that? And why are they, and I get annoyed sometimes with Western medicine approaches because it's not all bad, but
Mhm.
it just versus functional medicine or Eastern philosophical medicine. It just is like, well, it's so limiting. It's like, okay, you have this issue, so now you have to hunker down and just protect yourself. And it's so disempowering. It's like, you can't do these workouts. You can't, and then they're not giving you nutrition information. And it just seems very counterproductive.
Right. Yeah, I think it all ties down to what do you like? What do you like to do? Strength training is important. I liked boxing a lot. I was like, I don't want to give this up.
Mm-hmm.
And doctors are saying no intensity training. I honestly, I don't know why they would say
I was
that.
going to ask you that. What was the reason for,
I
because you're going to
really
strain your parts too much?
probably, I think, I
Yeah, it's
don't know.
interesting.
And so that was my routine. That was my training routine for the week is 3 days strength training, once a week boxing, and then my meals. I'd like to change things up. I don't like to have chicken all the time. It can get
Yeah, 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 of course.
it can
Yeah.
get a little annoying. So I would switch it up. I would have like ground beef and rice one week. I would have chicken and rice, or I would switch with potatoes, sweet potatoes you can even do. And sourdough bread is really good as well for carbs. And you can also do steak as well. So you have options. There are different ways to incorporate protein.
Mm-hmm.
And there's even, meal replacement shakes if you are a type of person who can't eat too much, right? You can do a meal replacement shake and make a smoothie out of it. Add some strawberries, add some blueberries in there, and that's your meal. You got your protein for the day. It's 25 grams, and you're
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
So
I
there's
don't
a
know
lot.
any woman who doesn't like to eat.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. There might be someone out there. There
There,
might
no,
be,
no, no. I know that there are, but I'm just joking. I mean, it's yeah. And
but
you know
I know.
what's interesting about the protein shakes too, because I've kind of done this in my own journey in a different way, is like
Mhm.
you could look forward to that as your treat. So instead of like a milkshake or ice cream or something like that, you can tell yourself, this is my treat for the day. to have a
Mhm.
supplement, or even like a protein bar that doesn't have a bunch of sugar in it, that actually is like clean protein and has the right macros, could be your treat instead of a candy bar or whatever. So that's, I don't know if that's helpful to anybody, but that's kind of how I look at it. It's like, oh yay, I get to have this protein shake. It's like or like even like one of my other hacks is like frozen fruit, like cherries, like organic frozen cherries, and just drizzle a little bit of organic honey on the top. And so it's like, it's not refined sugar, it's natural sugar. And then that kind of gives you the same feeling of like having ice cream. So I don't know.
Yes. Yeah. You can
That's
even
my
there
two
are
cents on that. Huh?
yeah, there are chocolate protein meal replacement shakes out there. Like I said, I love chocolate, so
Yes.
that was a little
Yes.
treat.
Yes, girl. I
Yeah.
know. I love that. I love that stuff too. Now, do you do vegan protein or do you do animal protein?
Yep, I do animal protein.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
there are vegan options out there.
Hmm.
But
Yep.
that was my preference. So either
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Either one works.
That's good. So, okay. So going back to kind of talking about support systems and things like that, let's say that someone gets this diagnosis of PCOS. How can their husbands or partners be supportive of the fact that they've got this diagnosis, and then supportive of the fact that there is a pathway to healing? Like, what do you think would be some key signature things? And maybe it's not just a husband or a partner, maybe it's family, maybe it's friends. What ways can people be supportive of people who have that diagnosis?
Yeah, I think the first step would be to start by having you both research, having you both look into it. You can both watch videos, you can both read on it. That way, you both have an idea of what it is, what comes from it, what can cause it, what happens to your body. That way, you both have an idea of what's going on.
Yes, yes, yeah.
I think studying it and researching it together is is a very really good first step.
Yeah. So you can kind of understand all the components and what to expect,
Yeah.
and all of that. That's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Um, so, as you've gone through this journey, and you've overcome a lot. I mean, you had to face your food. I don't want to say addiction, but you had a propensity to want to self-soothe with food, as many women do, myself included. And you had to face the reality that your lifestyle had to change in order for you to be able to access your health in a different way. And you made some very keen decisions in being able to do that. We talked about the social component, which was losing some friends who didn't quite understand, like, hey, I'm not ignoring you. I just can't go out because I can't eat this stuff. I mean, you had to overcome a lot of things, probably in from the initial diagnosis, the emotions, facing your own mindset, your beliefs about food, your health. Like you said, you said it so perfectly. Your relationship with everything, to yourself, food, your environment, your circle, all of that. So you've had a very intimate personal journey with this and had to overcome so many obstacles. So I'm just curious about what made you decide, okay, now I want to help other women actually overcome this as well. Talk to us a little bit about how you decided to even get into coaching and why that's important to you.
Yeah, I think that seeing the struggle I had in my journey, realizing that it wasn't easy, and seeing other women on TikTok and online, seeing them struggle as I was struggling, I realized, we don't have enough support, and there's a lack of information too. And it's becoming more common. I think that as after I was diagnosed, I started asking my friends, I started telling them, what happened to me, or what I was diagnosed with, and some of them even said, "Dory, I have that too." And it was a good amount of my
And you
friends.
guys had never talked about it before
Yep,
prior to
yep,
your,
yep.
because do you think it's because women just suffer in silence and think, oh, this is just part of my life, it's not something I should be discussing?
Yes. Yes, and I actually didn't tell anyone I didn't tell my immediate family until, and we can get into that later, but I didn't tell them until I reversed my symptoms. So my immediate family
Mm.
just knew about my PCOS. And that also ties into my culture. It's not common within my culture to have PCOS, to have fertility issues.
That's in the Latin culture.
In the Latin culture, yes. So I I didn't want to feel, left out. I didn't want to feel like I'm different. I didn't want people to judge me. I didn't want my family to judge me I didn't want them to act different around me. And so I kept it to myself and I just let my very close friends know.
Were you trying to, I'm just curious with that, were you just trying to kind of,
Process it myself,
yeah,
I
just
guess.
kind of encapsulate yourself with the least amount of input from others as possible? I'm just wondering what your mindset was around kind of just keeping it private while you were sorting it out.
Yeah. Yes, there that played an aspect, and also not really knowing how it was going to affect me in the future. Like, am I going to have this forever? Is it going to be temporary? I didn't know.
Yeah.
And I didn't want my mom, especially. And I have a weekly newsletter, and I talked about her on Mother's Day. And when I told her
Shout out to
that,
mom.
shout out to mom, um, she told me like, Dory, I never knew that this was an issue. I never knew this happened to women. And she's like, I wish you would have told me, and I told her, I was like, what would you have done if I
Yeah.
told you?
Yeah.
What would have been different? And she said, well, I could have supported you better. And, I said, Mom, I wanted you to act normal around me. I wanted you to not do things differently because of my condition. And she understood. She understood why I kept it from her. She understood why I did things the way I did. And at the end, she said, I'm glad you're better. She's like, you seem happier. You seem your body is banging. You know?
She's like, you look good, girl.
I wish it looked like you when I was younger. So
I love it.
she said, I'm glad, I'm happy for you. I'm glad you were able to reverse your symptoms all on your own. And she understood. She
Yes,
got it. So
that's
I
awesome.
think that it's important for other women to know too that it's okay to keep it from, if you want to keep it from people, that's fine. I kept it from my immediate family. Like, it doesn't really get any worse than that,
Hmm.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. And it's
So,
not like it's because you like were trying to hide this big secret. You just needed the space to process it and to start your journey without, again, because people do, like, if they learn that you're struggling with something, they can start to treat you differently,
yeah,
or be like, oh, I can't make this because Dory can't eat it. It's like, you don't want to infringe on other people's, right? Like, I'm guessing that was part of your mindset. Like, you just wanted them to be, like you said, you just wanted your mom to be your mom to you and not try to handle you any differently.
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah,
So,
that's awesome. So back to the coaching aspect and how you decided to, you've been through this journey yourself, and then it was like, okay, when did that light bulb go on? Okay, I actually do want to turn this around and start helping other people. I want to do my give back to others who might be struggling.
right. Yes. So within a year, I naturally reversed my symptoms. So, like I said, my period came back, my bloating went down, the facial hair that I had, most of it went away. And I realized that this is not common. It's not common for women to reverse their symptoms, to want to manage their symptoms.
Mhm.
And the more I looked into it, the more videos I saw, the more I heard about my friends and what they were doing and how it wasn't helping them. I know I took a step back and I said, healing is possible. I did it. Why do other women think that it's not? What's holding them back? Or
Yeah.
why is their mind going to the worst? You know?
Mhm. And
So
staying in that cycle of defeat,
exactly.
very disempowering.
Yes.
Mhm.
And so that's when the light bulb hit me. I made a story on my Instagram after I heard that I no longer have PCOS and I reversed some of my symptoms. After I went in for my yearly checkup and they took another blood test, they said, you look completely fine. Your hormones are great. I decided to share my story. I decided to make it public. And when I posted it on my Instagram, I was getting messages from friends, family, people who I didn't even know.
Yeah.
And
I think I
they,
remember seeing that very
yeah.
first post that you did, because it was like you kind of started with, this is where I started and this is where I am now.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's when it actually triggered for me. And I said, I'm getting all these messages of women saying this is giving me hope. Your story is giving me hope. And I said, Oh my gosh, there's so many women. I can't even begin to tell you how many messages I got. And I realized that these women need help. These women need guidance. Some of
Yeah.
them don't have a support system like I did.
Mhm.
And that's when I realized, okay, I overcame something crazy, something important, something that is affecting women, and I can help them.
Yeah.
So,
That's amazing. Yeah. So it's kind of like you put your story out there and the feedback that you got from people clued you in on, hey, actually I can help you. Like
yep.
I can turn my own personal journey into helping other people, which is I
Exactly.
think the most redemptive part of anyone's story is when you get to the point with whatever it is that you've been through in your life to where you've overcome it and you have a path forward that you have charted, and then you turn around and you say, and now I'm going to bring other people along on that journey and help them too. So I love it. It's so beautiful. So what's your advice then to women who got a PCOS diagnosis, and where do you even recommend that they start?
So I recommend starting with however your emotions take you, wherever they lead you to, let
Have the
it process.
cry sessions.
Yes, have your crying sessions. If you need to let it out, let it out.
Yeah.
And, first I think you should do your research. Do your research, write down your symptoms. That's going to be super important because then you'll know what exactly to target and what to change. So start there and then build a plan based on what you're trying to achieve. So for me, it was getting my period back, right? So I knew that I had to change my diet because I was eating such bad foods, such processed foods. And the intermittent fasting was going to help me because I was eating way too much. I had to bring it down. I had to condense it. So
Now, did
it's
you
I
know that instinctively, or you, just through your research, or kind of both, you figured out?
well, I was always hungry. I was always hungry from the second I woke up, the
Same,
second I
same
went
girl,
to bed.
same.
And I was feeling too much. I was eating way too much, and I did not have to be eating that much. I really didn't. My body was trying to manage all this food, and it was way too much for me. So
Yeah.
I think that would be a good place to start. Write down your symptoms, figure out where you're at now, and then figure out where you want to go. Write down your goals. What do you want? What do you want to do?
Mhm.
And what's your end goal? Think about that. What's your why? And
Mhm.
it's okay to be discouraged. It's okay to feel like it's the end of the world. I felt like that too. Mm. But always think about your why. Think about what your end goal is. And I think it's important to stick that in your head. Think about that when
Mhm.
you wake up, think about that when you go to bed,
Mhm.
is your why.
Mhm.
And that's going to help you decide, should I eat this? Should I go to the gym? Should I journal? You know, that
Should I
your
go
why
to
is,
the Dairy Queen
should I
drive-through
go
and
to
get a Snickers Blizzard? Yeah.
Exactly. And it's something so simple. And like I said, we have so many resources these days. Go on TikTok, look up how to make a high protein meal, how to make a healthy snack, how to make a high protein chocolate cake, which I did.
I love that.
Yeah. So it's little things like that where you can start slowly replacing things that you're doing now with better options.
And we'll talk about a little bit here before we close, kind of how you help people navigate all of that, because your program is very much about helping people, empowering people, and giving them those tools. My final question though before we address that is, what is the one mind shift, reset, or just mindset shift that you feel that helped you the most during this journey? What's the one thing that, I think you kind of already touched on it, but maybe you can expound on it a little bit?
Yeah. So, and this is kind of, people think it's corny, but journaling.
Okay.
Journaling, putting my things on paper, putting my thoughts on paper, putting my goals on paper, and then going through that each day, right? I started thinking about what would my life look like without PCOS.
You're
I would sit,
visualizing what's
you're
possible.
visualizing, you're writing it down, it's on paper, it's firm, you're seeing it, you're feeling it. And I would take walks. I started taking walks every day, 30 minute walks. And during those walks, I would think about, what do I want? What do I want
Mhm.
my life to look like?
Mhm.
How do I want to wake up in the mornings? What would my ideal perfect day look like if I didn't have this diagnosis? If I wasn't bloated anymore? If
Yeah.
my period came every month consistently, what would I feel like?
Yeah. Well,
And
and
that
also I would say for the Christians out there, journaling is very biblical. Writing the vision down is very biblical. Um, Meditating on things that are greater, higher, that are praiseworthy. Faith is literally the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. So meditating on what the future could hold for you and what it would look like when you're healed and you can go and do the things you want to do and your life is so different. That's
yeah.
all very, the metaphysical world's kind of hijacked that a little bit, but it's very biblical to actually do that. And I commend you for really prioritizing your mindset and your meditations in addition to just making these physical shifts like with food and fasting and stuff like that. So I just wanted to point that out because I don't think people realize how important that is.
Yeah. And I think love plays a huge part of it too, is, Jesus was all about love.
Of course. Yes,
And
absolutely.
I
Was,
love,
still is.
yeah, yeah, it still is, yes, of course.
Yes.
And I think too that I use that I incorporated that into my journey is like, I want to be like Jesus. I want to love myself regardless. And I mean,
Mm.
at that point, I didn't know what was going to happen with my diagnosis, right? I didn't know if I was going to have it forever or not.
Yeah.
And I decided to love myself either way. At the end of the day, I said, I'm working on myself. I'm getting better. I'm seeing results. I am. But I choose to love myself regardless of what happens. And I said,
You're
if
giving yourself grace.
grace, yes. And like I said, I haven't decided if I wanted kids. And I said, if it's not meant for me to have kids, I'm still going to love myself.
Yeah.
There is a
Didn't
purpose.
diminish your value at all.
Exactly. So loving yourself regardless of the outcome, regardless of where you are in your journey. There's a reason for it. There's a reason for
And I also feel that, and I know some people get a little prickly with this stuff, but I really believe that if you learn to love yourself because you accept the fact that God loves you first, that actually does have a huge part of your healing journey because you're no longer rejecting yourself, rejecting your body, rejecting your own life or your circumstances. You're saying I am so well loved and so well taken care of, and because God says that about me, I can say that about myself too, which is what I'm hearing you say. And just loving your body, even though it's struggling,
it. Hmm.
like, even though it's not performing the way that you want it to, I think that the component of self love, not in like a hippie, selfish way, not in like that kind of way, but
Yeah.
like in a true sense of like understanding God's love for you and then applying that
Mhm.
to your own vision of yourself. I don't know. It just seems like there's something there about loving yourself. So I'm so glad that you brought that up. That's just so beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, wow, Dory, your story is incredible. I'm just reflecting on this conversation right now as we're talking. And thank you for letting me, interject my own thoughts into all of this and having this incredible conversation today. I hope and pray that this has been enlightening to our audience. And also, I just want to say one more time to everybody before we get to how you can contact Dory for your coaching needs in this particular area, that if this video did resonate with you or someone came to mind as you were watching or listening to this conversation, share it with them. Share it with them because it will encourage them, it will empower them. And obviously we have someone here that can help you too, or help them on their journey. And that's another level of support that we can offer others. So please, please, please share this if you feel led to pass it on. So, Dory, how can people get in touch with you? How can they access your program, your coaching program? Let's talk about that for a second before we say goodbye.
Yep. So I do offer one-on-one coaching for women with PCOS.
Yeah.
And the way to contact me is we'll have my website linked here below.
Yeah.
But you can also find me on Instagram at Dorybell, which is DORYBELL. And I'm also on TikTok at DorybellG. And yeah, you can sign up for one-on-one coaching. I also have a plan, PCOS restarter plan, where it'll be hands off to you and you can actually incorporate a few things into your journey that helped me. And 100% believe that they could help you.
And you have a
Right.
newsletter too. You mentioned that earlier. Yeah.
Yes, I have a newsletter. I have a weekly newsletter where I send out tips every single week of things that helped me on my journey and things that I believe can also help you. So that's great to sign up.
That's awesome. And then what would you say are the top components of your coaching strategy that you focus on? Because I want people to understand that if they're interested in working with you.
Yes. So I have 3 pillars that I focus on, and those are the 3 pillars are mindset, training, and nutrition. So mindset is first because without the right mindset, we can't be successful in the other two. So I will work with you to ensure that we have the right mindset for you. We'll journal together, we'll meditate together, and that way your training and your nutrition will um, slowly fall into that naturally.
Yes.
And
Yes.
everything will flow. Everything will flow.
Yeah. You will go wherever your thoughts go, right?
Exactly.
So if you
Exactly.
can change your mindset, that I would imagine that's the first hurdle in kind of learning that. So that's amazing. So repeat it again. So you said mindset
Training
and
and nutrition.
nutrition. Beautiful. Well, guys, if you're interested in working with Dory, I'm going to include the link in the description of this video so that you can access that information, or as we mentioned earlier, pass it on to somebody that you think might benefit from it. And Dory, I just want to thank you again so much for sharing your story, being open and transparent, and just sharing your heart. I absolutely love how you've approached this whole thing. And I think you're just a shining example of how victorious someone can emerge out of such a diagnosis and something that's so personal and difficult. And wow, I mean, you've transformed your life, and that's no small thing. Like, I can't even imagine the road that you've been on. And so just thank you for setting such an incredible example, showing what is possible, and then turning it around and offering a way for other people to heal. So thank you.
Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome. Well, guys, that concludes this episode of Just Love Inspires TV. Thank you again for watching. Please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and of course, as we mentioned, share this video if it felt inspiring in any way to you. We will see you on the next episode, and thanks again, as always, for watching. I'm free falling in your love, love. I'm free falling in your love, I'm free falling.